Hey guys, it's Mooty here, and today I'm going to be doing a different type of series because a lot of people have requested help in competitive team building, so I am going to do my best in order to bring you that. And today I'm joined by Chase, who's also going to help me out.
Hi.
So we're going to do this stuff together. I'm going to have a link to each and every website I use in the description, so don't worry about that. I'll mention whichever website I use. So really quickly, I'm going to go over like the sources I use. Like right now, my primary team building thing is, whatchamacallit, Showdown, and literally the link will be in the description, and that's usually where I put in Pokemon and all the movesets, and then I test it out for the most part before bringing it into Wi-Fi. In terms of team synergy, I use teammagma.net/teambuilder, and that's also going to be in the description, and basically it will go through all the typing of your team and tell you what you're weak to and what you resist, and you know, types that you might need to improve on. Another useful thing is threat list, which can be found on Smogon, and it goes through all the threats that are currently in the overused metagame. Viability ranking over here, which puts all the threats into ranks, obviously.
And to be honest, the viability ranking is a lot better than the actual threat list, so I'd rather go
it looks
that.
a lot more organized too. So these are just like two options that you can use. You have the choice between them. Another thing that you may want to look at is the the stats.
Usage statistics. Just because it'll actually show what's relevant and what's not, and then there's also the moveset statistics, which shows you what everything uses. So I mean, like, if you're going to be team building, those are probably your better resources if you're going to use anything, but
so if you're trying to build a well-built team, also the good thing about this is that they also tell you what the most used teammates are with this certain Pokemon, as well as items and abilities and moves. So it literally gives you, and spreads as well, so it helps you out a lot in telling you what is most relevant in the metagame. So basically these are all the sources that I have. You can find all the links in the description. If you get lost, then just click them and you'll find them.
And anything else we use will also go in the description. So.
Yeah, basically, if you need to find anything, it'll be in the description. And also, if you have any questions, you can definitely put them in the comments, and I'll try my best to answer. Any support would be appreciated on this, because the way I'm thinking about doing this is I'm going to put together a team, and you'll see the exact team building process that we go through. And then from there, we'll bring it into Wi-Fi and Showdown, that you'll be able to see how it functions and how certain teammates might get changed around if they have to be, and how we kind of see what threats we have a really hard time countering, and kind of work on making a really well-built team from there. Alright, so first of all, I guess a really good starting point, if you don't really know where to go from, is a Mega Slot. So Mega Slot is arguably one of the most important slots, and you kind of don't want to waste like a crappy Mega, so to speak, on that slot.
Well,
so
yeah.
Yes?
I mean, otherwise, it's just the best thing to do is just pick a Pokemon you want to use that you know you like and start with that. Like, that's
that works too. Like, let's say my favorite Pokemon is Milotic. You're free to use whatever Pokemon you want, but if I pick Milotic, then I kind of got to build around that as well, and just make teammates that are going to support whatever it does.
And, like, then you can pick the Mega around that, which sometimes can be better, but if you do want to use, like, a Mega that, you know you want to use a Mega that's the best starting point, etc., etc.
Yeah, that's basically, like, both of the two easiest ways that you can start. So, for the purposes of this video, we predetermined that we're going to use Metagross, so.
Yeah, it's just something I've been wanting to use just because it's a huge, huge threat, and I just haven't used it yet, so it'd be nice to use.
So, I have Metagross with the Metagross-ite and the ability Clear Body. So, the best ability is Clear Body.
Because Landorus is so relevant, plus there are plenty of Intimidators right now, so you want that ability to start off and just get the Intimidate out of the way, and then you can just pound out whatever they got.
And if we look on the statistics over here, Metagross-ite, your best bet is for Anjali. Obviously, you want to go for speed. There's hardly any scenario in which you really want to go for Adamant, because you really always want speed, because Metagross
There are, if you want it to be more of a support Metagross, but I'm assuming we're going to go for
Yeah,
more...
if you're going for offensive, it will be always speed, unless there are, like, with some Pokemon, there are certain situations in which, like, if you Scarf it or something, it doesn't need the extra speed, but that's, like, a whole, like, another complex thing entirely.
Basis, really, but, like, as far as Metagross goes, it's probably going to be best optimized as, you know, an offensive Pokemon right now. I mean, if the team worked out a different way, then obviously more of a defensive spread, but I think right now we want it to be offensive.
Pretty much. So, obviously you're going to want to have Meteor Mash for stab. Meteor Mash also has the added chance of getting an attack boost. Unfortunately, it's not 100% accuracy, so you want to keep that in mind. And
but
then,
it's still good enough to warrant using.
And then another stab it gets is Zen Headbutt.
Not 100% either, but...
Yeah, that's why I'm, like, iffy on it. It's also 90% accurate. And then the other two slots are kind of...
I mean, do you want to use an Agility Gross, or would you rather just use, like, an all-out attacking one?
Usually, because Mega Metagross's speed is actually pretty high, I just want to go all-out attacker.
Yeah, no, I was thinking that too, but I was also thinking about the fact that, like, you know...
It does get agility if you want. Agility basically means it outspeeds anything in the game.
Right.
Because you put at +2.
I was more just thinking in the fact that, you know, you might want to, just because...
The thing is, if you run agility, you definitely don't need all the speed.
Right, and...
So that's like another thing you'd have to alter specifically for your team. But since agility is not that prevalent, then we're just going to go with the Jolly.
Yeah, I mean, I'd personally rather just go with an all-out attacker just because it gives us more coverage options. Plus, like, that also leaves it open so that we can have another quote-unquote sweeper on the team, because Agility Gross, especially when you're not running, like, the old Agility Gross, which was Life Orbed, you lose a little bit of power even though you're gaining a lot. In a weird way, it works like that.
So, another really useful move you'd want to have is Bullet Punch for priority. It's optional, but I do see a lot of people still rub Bullet Punch on it. Like, the thing with the last two slots is that they're kind of, like, tailored to your team. Like, the first two are pretty standard for stab, then the last two are kind of like, well, what other movesets do you have on your other Pokemon to kind of see what you should do with this?
Right.
But for standard, I guess you really want to have at least, dragons are still really dominant, so you'd want Ice Punch.
Well, also you want the Ice Punch for Landorus. That's why you run Ice Punch. But the dragons, obviously, they still exist. Like, Latios and Latios, they still exist. It's still good to have Ice Punch for them. And there are still plenty of Pokemon in this tier that are weak to that Ice Punch.
Yeah, currently Landorus is number 2, Latios is number 7, and Latios is number 8, so...
Yeah, so, I mean, Ice Punch is one of those relevant moves you definitely want to have, so I would definitely have it if I was running a 4-attack Gross.
Then, the last slot is kind of down to, there's Earthquake... There is Thunder Punch. Honestly, I really don't think I'm going to use Thunder Punch.
Yeah, like...
But Earthquake is really good for Heatran. Otherwise, you're walled by Heatran.
Well, I mean, you're walled by it even...
If it's Balloon, you're kind of walled, but it's one of those things you'd have to play around. But yeah, I think Earthquake for coverage is just a good thing to have. Plus other Metagross.
As far as other options go, I mean, there's also, like, Pursuit and Grass Knot. But personally, I think I'd rather have Earthquake.
And then they do have a suggested spread here, but you don't want this bulky physical sweeper at all, so...
Yeah, considering it doesn't know that you're running Mega Metagross. I mean, it sees the item, but it more sees the physical Pokemon itself. That's the only thing with Shonen you gotta be careful with.
So I don't always just go with the suggested spread, but in this case we were gonna run Jolly, so we want to max out the speed, and then because this is going to be an all-out attacker, you want to also max out the attack. And Jolly just makes sure that you have plus speed and minus special attack, which you just have no use for. So make sure you always put minus in the stat that you won't have use for. And then I think the last 4 HP usually goes into HP. Well, the 4 EVs.
The thing is that, I don't know, I've always gone with this personally. The way I see it is that you want to put it in one of your defense stats, whichever one is lower, which is going to be special defense. You don't want to put it in HP because of the fact that Stealth Rocks and other entry hazards are irrelevant. And, like, I want to put this out there now. If you have an odd HP number, you can switch into Stealth Rocks and Spikes more than you could if you had an even HP number, because, you know, Division will make it go down so much, and you'll actually hit 1 HP before 0, because let's say you're using a Pokemon that's 2 times weak to Stealth Rocks, like let's say Victini. If you have it with an odd HP number, you can actually switch into Stealth Rocks 4 times before dying, but if you have an even HP number, you can switch in 3 times before dying, but the 4th time you'll die.
I think Talonflame works the same way too.
Yep, you can switch in twice if you take absolutely no damage. I mean,
yeah.
all those numbers I was saying, it all factors into if you take absolutely no damage. But,
yeah, that's goes without saying.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously yes. So odd HP numbers are always best unless you're using a Pokemon with leftovers whose HP gets optimized, or the leftovers recovery gets optimized by having the even, but it's generally optimized with odd anyways, so it's very rare where you want even HP.
That's just quick Stealth Rock statistics. So if you really want help in typing, then you can put the Metagross into the team builder over here, just so you can kind of start building around the other Pokemon on your team.
Yeah, plus you can see the weaknesses that are already laid out, like, you know, there's the dark weakness.
Yeah, they literally come up right in front of you. You have everything that you take resisted damage from, quad resisted, immune, and then weak, and 4 times weak. So it's a really useful thing to have. The moves are optional. That's only if you really need help with type coverage. It does have that as well. But for the purposes of this video, I'm not really going to go into it.
And plus, overall, it's not that important to know for yourself what you have, because you should be catering your team more to what threats exist in the metagame more than what matters more as far as your personal type coverage goes.
Yeah, like synergy is important, but synergy doesn't matter if you can't counter all the dominant threats in the metagame, so keep that in mind. Like, let's say you have a perfectly built like team in terms of synergy. If it can't counter, like, sure, it might be able to come in and take resisted attacks, but if those resisted attacks do so much to where you can't actually take care of the threat, then type coverage honestly means nothing.
Exactly. I'd rather be able to actually take on threats than have like, oh, I need to be able to hit this fairy type that doesn't exist. Like, you know.
Yeah, like that's another thing. If there's like a certain type that isn't that dominant in the metagame, then you're not as focused on taking care of it, if that makes sense. So, moving on.
As far as right now, the only things that Mega Metagross is really concerned with would be like the Rotom matchup, kind of Train matchup, and the Talonflame matchup. I mean, it's just random things that are kind of iffy, but it's, you know, they're in general things that we need to cover anyways. Like, as far as Rotom and Talonflame go, I think those are the main things we need to be concerned about when we're looking at Mega Metagross as far as what's gonna threaten it, but we also shouldn't build too much around just having one singular Pokemon. It's just things that work synergetically with it to take on common threats. As far as a good teammate for it, like, obviously, I think Rotom W would just be in general a good one. Plus, there's also the thing that since Landorus is such a heavy scarfer, Mega Metagross doesn't really want to stay in a lot of the time. So it's definitely an option to run that Rotom to help check the Landorus a little bit better. Plus, it does deal with Greninja. To an extent, you still have
It depends, yeah. It always depends on the Greninja, because there are so many different sets running around now.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing is, Rotom can take a gunk shot okay, but it has an easier time dealing with Greninja than, you know, a lot of things do. So Rotom is just an in general good Pokemon to probably have to pair with Metagross, just because it can take on a lot of Metagross's common weaknesses. So I mean,
as well as being a good supporter. They usually run lefties. You have the ability to levitate, to be immune to ground. And then for typing, you usually run Hydro Pump for the stab.
Yep.
This next slot, honestly, like, for the other stab, you have a toss-up between Volt Switch and Thunderbolt. Both have their benefits, like Thunderbolt just for damage, but Volt Switch does provide the amazing option of having switches. So
I know that all too.
Yeah, Chase knows that all too well.
If you ever want to learn about how to Volt Switch or U-turn right?
Yeah, Chase can go into the uses of Volt Switch. Let's go.
No, but it is important to have Volt Switch, especially when you're running a Pokemon like Mega Metagross, where you want to catch Pokemon on their switch-ins, and then you have a powerful Pokemon to bring in and either force them out or revenge them a lot easier. So definitely appreciates the Volt Switch a lot more than the Thunderbolt, so...
Once again, it's up to team preference, but I like to run Volt Switch, and then Will-O-Wisp is also a really good thing to have. Just keep in mind that it's only 85% accurate.
The last move slot, you generally want to use Pain Split just because Rotom has no real good form of recovery. Otherwise, the other option...
Yeah, otherwise there's also Resto Chesto. If you really want, Resto Chesto is still a thing, but I haven't seen it around that much.
I've seen it a little bit, but the thing is that the Pain Split provides a little bit more of in a sense of reliability, plus it helps break stall a little bit, and the leftovers give you more general security, so I personally prefer the Pain Split with leftovers, so that's just me.
That's good.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, there's a special defensive spread, which apparently they run 252 HP, 212 special defense, and 44 speed, which makes a lot of sense because you might as well optimize your speed. Okay, the reason why they say run this 44 speed is because it outruns Jolly, Belly Drum, Azumarill, and Burn It, and then you can also just outspeed it in general and get a Volt Switch off. Yep. But the EVs are optimized just enough to be able to take on whatever hits you need to. You can opt to run that 44 in a different stat, like special attack, or even if you wanted to defense, but I think speed is the better way to do it right now because it is nice to have that speed on something like Rotom, so calm nature.
Yeah.
Because it's better optimized as a special defensive guy. At least right now, like Greninja makes it so it may want to be more defensive, but at the same time, we want something that can more reliably take on more of Greninja's moves in a way.
Yep.
So the Gunk Shot isn't as important to us right now, I feel like.
Greninja is one of those Pokemon where there is no one Pokemon that can counter it.
Right. So, I mean, it's more just you gotta have a few different ideas to be able to take it on and then work with it from there.
Right now, you put Rotom-Wash in the thing, and you have some of your types covered. You get more resistances. So right now, with just these two Pokemon alone, synergy-wise, you're just weak to Ghost and Dark, which honestly, Dark is only dominant because of Knockoff.
Yeah, which it's still relevant to keep in mind because we don't have a reliable way to take it on yet, and there are still some relevant Dark types, but because of Fairy typing, it's not as big, but it's still important to look at what potential Dark types there are, which really the only ones I'm aware of are like Tyranitar and Sableye, which Sableye...
And I guess technically Greninja, technically.
Yeah, technically, but I mean Greninja generally does care. Oh yeah, Bisharp is relevant still.
That too.
That's slightly annoying actually. So we may want to actually think about that because if Bisharp is relevant enough, that is something to keep in mind.
So, from here you have one physically offensive, you have one specially defensive. So you could want to go with specially offensive or physically defensive.
Like, the way I was looking at it was maybe Latios might be okay.
Yeah, I think Latios is good too. It also adds resistances for Metagross.
Right, because it helps deal with, you know, Rotom, Heat Train to an extent. It helps deal with things that Metagross has trouble with, and it provides a good enough partner for. Item is Life Orb, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Most people run just Life Orb for damage. There's also, if you really want to bluff a choice item, you can run Expert Belt. For power, you usually run Draco, but you can also run Dragon Pulse if you want 100% accuracy.
But and also you run it in case you don't want to take the continuous special attack drops, but generally you want the power from Latios right off the bat.
Yeah, it's meant to just come in, hit something hard, and then you can switch out if you have to, because you're running Draco.
The other useful move I would go with personally is Psyshock.
Psyshock over Psychic, mainly for Conkeldurr, because they always run Assault Vest, and you want to attack them from the physical side, and also any especially defensive mons that may come in.
Yeah, like it provides another way to help alleviate the Rotom matchup too, because then you don't have to continuously get a special defense or special attack drop, and it helps deal with it to a better extent.
So now you have your 2 stabs. The other 2 slots are honestly kind of toss-ups depending on the team. Like, it has the option for having Hidden Power Fire, which is useful. I run it sometimes, but it does come with the fact that you're going to lose out on speed if you run it. So you won't, like, speed tie other Latios if you really care about that.
The thing is, right now, we're not at a point where we can make a true consensus if we need HP Fire or not.
Boost or recover. Especially because you keep taking Life Orb damage. If you want Latios to have more survivability, then you could put Recover on it. So I'm going to put Recover on it. And then this one is also kind of like a toss-up. Some people like running Defog. I know they do, but I don't like it. I don't like the way it runs.
Yeah, personally, I prefer the recovery factor, but I was just going to say the fact that we don't need to worry about hazards right now, especially since the only real hazard that's used heavily is still the Stealth Rocks. Like, Spikes has taken a huge downhill slope since, you know...
Like, we don't run anything that suffers a lot from Stealth Rock right now, so it's not a necessity. Right now, I can't say for sure because we're only halfway through a team.
Yeah.
So, if you're not sure, we can always just come back to it, honestly.
Yeah,
that point we'll come back to it.
Come back to it just until we figure out what we need more.
And then, with Latios, you always run Timid.
Yep.
And you dump everything in speed and special attack.
And then put the last 4 EVs in defense, just because.
Defense.
It's lower defense stat, so that's what you want to boost.
So don't forget to actually come back to that. And then if we'll add Latios into here, we've got. The only thing we have a problem with a lot now is Dark. Bug is kind of a problem, I guess, if you're dealing with Scizor.
Well, I mean, if we're concerned about bugs, we can run a Landorus, because, like, I don't know if
it could also, well, depending on the set, it could also get, like, Stealth Rocks out of the way as well.
I was just about to say, like, I don't know how I feel about running a Scarfer right now, because I feel like it's going to be a better option to run a more defensive spread.
We already have 2 really fast Pokemon too. So.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, we can have another Scarfer later on, but I feel like we need another defensive guy more right now to deal with stuff, so I'm feeling more Landorus right now.
Landorus-Therian is really good physically defensive, which we could use, and it has Intimidate on top of that.
It also has U-Turn.
Of course, it also has U-Turn, of course.
I mean, it does. But I mean, the moveset is actually fairly obvious on Landorus. It's just go Earthquake, knock off Stealth Rocks, and U-Turn. Because at this point, I don't think we really need Stone Edge for much right now, so I'd rather just have the knockoff.
Really, the only reason you need Stone Edge is like Talonflame, honestly, and we already have that covered.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not too concerned about it.
Max HP, max defense?
Yeah. Well, actually...
you might want some speed.
Yeah, like, I know it appreciates a little bit of speed, like...
I'm just not sure how much speed it's supposed to have to outrun what in the...
Well, like, I'm looking at it right now, and as far as, what it's saying here is, like, the spread is supposed to be 252 HP, 240 defense, 8 special defense, 8 speed, but what I was gonna say is, like, the most relevant thing we need to outspeed is gonna be the Rotom, which we don't actually need that much speed to outpace, and then it's just a matter of what else is gonna be needed to outspeed, because it's nice to be able to outspeed something and go for a U-turn.
It already has a strong attack stat, so that's also useful.
But, I mean, we can make it a bit better, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, how much better do we want it?
I don't think there's, like, a need for us to put a certain amount in to, like, kill certain things.
Yeah,
so
it's more just so we have a bit more damage. It's just for
a bit more damage, yeah. Adamant has a really good attack stat, and then it also has...
Because if we just go Adamant, we can put a little bit more back into defense, because what I'm looking at right now is if we go Adamant, put 8 into attack, that brings us up to 360 attack, which is really, really respectable.
Mm-hmm.
So that can bring up the defense stat to 274 with Impish, or without Impish. So I mean, that's great, I think. Just go Adamant.
Gotcha. So I got 252 HP, 8 attack, 232 defense, and then 8 in special defense and speed.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I don't know, I think that'll be good.
Yeah, so like I said, this is also like testing, if somehow we see that when we actually take it to battle, it runs into some problems, you can always change it later.
Right. I mean, it's more important about, it's mainly just right now it's what's looking good on paper, but once you actually play, you need to cater it to your own team and your own preferences.
We have a lot, like, the good thing is right now we have a lot for ground types. Like, Metagross is not going to run into ground type issues at all.
There's going to be that problem. We still have that Ghost and Dark problem, and then there's a little bit of an Ice weakness, but we have enough that can take it.
Like, the problem is that most Dark types are, well, usually knockoff. So, Landorus deals with that. Otherwise, you really don't see much Dark unless it's, like, Dark Pulse or something, and even that isn't that common.
The only other thing is like Bisharp.
Yeah, Bisharp. Yeah, that's a thing. You don't want to come on a Bisharp with Landorus. Other than that, Landorus does add a 4x Ice weakness, but that's handled well enough by Rotom-Wash and Metagross anyway.
Which, I mean, Rotom and Landorus, those are some of the best cores in the game. You can splash that onto like almost any team, and you're good.
Yeah, and then like obviously you also see that some things you have like a lot of weaknesses to, like they put if you have 2 or 3 or just 1, so also watch out for that when you team build. We also have specially defensive with physically defensive now, then we also have specially offensive and physically offensive, and then we also have Stealth Rocks covered. So honestly, like we have a really good coverage in terms of just these 4 Pokemon. It's where the last 2 slots are kind of like toss-ups in what other types you may want to cover. Honestly, it's difficult for me to actually come up with something right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Fire wouldn't be bad to have, but
there's nothing that's really that great as, like, I really don't want to run Talonflame, because then that forces Latios to run Defog, and I'd rather not have to deal with that aspect. And also Talonflame, it's just, for me personally, I haven't liked using it lately, especially in OU. Like, it's still good, but I feel like
a lot of Landorus, a lot of Rotom-Wash, though.
Yeah, like, and the thing is, like,
and Heatran too.
Yeah, it just feels like it falls too short. I don't want to use it. I definitely wouldn't mind running some sort of physical attacker that's scarfed, but I don't know what. Like, I feel like that would be the better scarfer as opposed to a special scarfer. But like, the best scarfer I could think of right now in the OU metagame is obviously Landorus, but
we're already
we have to use that slot because we need something more defensive right now, and that works best synergy-wise.
So Ferrothorn, we kind of have nothing for. Granted, like, Ferrothorn isn't that big of a problem because it's just, like, defensive, but otherwise you don't really have. So it's kind of like if you wanted to have, I guess, Hidden Power on Latios, you could.
Yeah, I mean, worst comes to worst, we have the Hidden Power Fire for Latios, but then we lose that to other Latioses, but I don't think we're that overly concerned about Latios at this point. Like, I think Greninja is just going to be necessary at this point.
It's, like, necessary on every single team because it's so good, and it also does take care of fairies, too.
Like, it's not that I don't want to. I fucking love Greninja, but it's just, like, there are some points where you have to just buckle down and be like, it's going to be in our best interest. Because we're probably not going to be able to fit on U-turn on this thing, because...
Yeah, it usually at least has Hydro Pump and Ice Beam.
Yep.
And then the last slot is like a toss-up between like U-turn, Dark Pulse.
Yeah, I've actually seen people that leave out a Hydro Pump for U-turn actually, or they put
honestly on this team it wouldn't be that bad because we have water in the form of Rotom.
But I mean, like, honestly, I feel like with Metagross, we want a bit more pivoting action, too.
Like, what do you need Hydro Pump for? Not Landorus, you have Ice Beam. And it's probably going to outspeed you anyway, because they usually run Scarf.
Hydro Pump really shouldn't be that relevant, and especially if we're going to
It doesn't matter, because you're Protean, so you're not even going for Stab.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking more for coverage aspects, which we shouldn't need Hydro Pump for anything, and I feel like I said, with Metagross, we're going to want that pivoting factor, so... I think we may actually want to just take off Hydro Pump for U-turn.
If it doesn't work out, we could switch it up.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there are always going to be scenarios in which I guess Hydro Pump might have been more useful, but if the scenarios don't outweigh the actual scenarios in which U-turn was helpful, then I guess it doesn't really matter. Like I said, this is literally up to you guys and, like, how you choose to team build, but you're always free to switch it up once you actually put the team into testing. So do you want the last slot to have Dark Pulse?
Yeah,
just
because I think
for
Dark Pulse is actually a really relevant move. Like, even though we have U-turn, I feel like Dark Pulse is still relevant enough to warrant it. The other option is, too, that we could run a extra sensory for fighting types, but
we have Latios.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm just saying other options. Like,
yeah.
Otherwise, we should be okay. Otherwise, HP Fire is an option if we want extra assurance, but I feel like we shouldn't need it.
I think between Greninja and Metagross, it's just gonna force a lot of switches, and you'll be able to get a lot of damage off.
We should be okay.
So for attack, if you run 40, I think you 2-hit KO any bulky fairies with Gunk Shot. You also run Naive for...
Don't you run Hasty?
I run Naive. So...
I think you run Hasty.
It's either Naive or Hasty. It's whichever defense you want lowered.
Yeah.
So, Naive or Hasty.
Well, let's see. Which one is the most used? Actually, Hasty is the most used.
Alright, so I guess we'll run Hasty.
Yeah, if it becomes relevant where we need to take a little bit more physical hits, then yeah, obviously we can switch it, but...
They always max out speed, and the rest in special attack, which will be 216
special attack.
And there you have it, you have Greninja.
Yay.
So, although, to be fair, like, if you toss Greninja in on your team builder, it's... Like, it doesn't have one specific typing, so you're really not going to be switching it into hits. Like, don't always just go by type resistances here, because really it's the threats that matter, but you could still have, like, you could go by this chart and still have weaknesses in your team that you're still able to perfectly cover with the most relevant threats in the metagame.
The way I'm almost looking at it is that instead of needing a fire thing to hit steel types, we could just go with a fighting type and also have a Scarfer, and
that does work out too.
I'm almost thinking Terrakion.
I have not seen Terrakion used in so long, but
the thing I'm thinking of, like, I know Terrakion.
You do have its weaknesses covered very well with everything else.
We have, and then anything that wants to come in on Terrakion, we have plenty of pivots to deal with them. So, because like, if we look at, I'm just gonna quick check usage. Like, because the thing is, it helps check Greninja even more.
Yeah. Unless it runs Water Shuriken.
Oh yeah, and I mean, we should have laners covered well enough. So I mean, honestly, a lot of the things that want to come in on Terrakion, we have Azumarill covered enough. Like, a lot of things that want to come in on it, we should have covered well enough. So I feel like we can stand to run a Terrakion.
So, for the last slot, we'll go with Scarf Terrakion, just so we have a Scarfer, like a really fast Scarfer. Because Terrakion has good
Like
speed.
I said before, it adds the fighting typing, which is honestly...
It also helps out with Dark type as well. Because it doesn't want... Nothing's going to want to hit this thing with Justified Boost. Like, this last slot is honestly such a toss-up because, like, everything else works so well synergy-wise in dealing with other Pokemon.
And the thing is, too, that there's not much else that really... Weirdly enough, with what we have right now, there's not a lot of good physical attackers that fit in that slot. Like, we could run Conch Elder, but I feel like we need the speed more than anything else.
So for Terrakion, it's usually Stone Edge, Close Combat, Earthquake, and I remember vaguely, like, the last slot used to be, like, X-Scissor, but...
Iron Head.
Iron Head works.
Because, in case we need to have Fairy types, like, what do we need X-Scissor for?
Yeah, really nothing, honestly. Nothing.
I mean, otherwise, if we want X-Scissor, we can put it over Earthquake. Because I'd rather have that Iron Head than the,
Yeah, Iron Head is really useful. Like, honestly, I just think it needs all of the speed.
Right, yep, just
and
speed,
then,
attack, and then...
Well, 4 in either defense, honestly. Because they're both the same.
Showdown defaults it to special defense when I click the suggested spread button, so I'm just gonna click that.
And so now we're still left with what we do with Latios.
Which, I think we decided we should probably just have Hidden Power Fire. Like, we give up...
Honestly, I've seen so many Scizors switch into Latios thinking they're safe. I don't know why. HP Fire just is not that common on it, but so many people switch on it thinking they're safe.
It's gonna be the most relevant, especially since we don't have anything else. We kind of need it. And we shouldn't have to worry too much about opposing Latioses.
Yeah, we have other ways to handle it. Like, even going off the chart, we actually don't have that big of a problem. Like, grass, grass isn't that relevant.
But, I mean, grass, that's part of Greninja, so it's like, whatever, just take that out. And then it's like, we have Latios and Rotom and... Or not Rotom, Latios and Metagross. It's like, we have enough that should be able to take on everything that we're weak to, so we should be okay enough.
Yeah. Honestly, this looks good. So then we'll end up running with this team on Wi-Fi. Hopefully you guys found this informative. I'm going to keep doing this maybe with different teams and other megas or other Pokemon you'd like to see us use. So if you enjoy this, I'd really appreciate a like. Chase's channel is going to be down in the description, so feel free to check him out. We also really want to branch out into other tiers, so even if you want to see us try and team build around other tiers, we'll definitely do it. So literally this all relies on all of your support and stuff, so in any way or any help that you guys need, then you can just always let us know in the comments and we'll try our best.
Yep, so, I mean, look forward to the showdown and Wi-Fi battles we do with this team, and then leave comments below about what Pokemon you want to see, have a team around next. Even cores work too, so...
Yeah, cores as well.
That'll actually be a good topic to go with too, so definitely leave suggestions for whatever below and we'll get to them.
So hopefully you guys enjoy this, and as always, I love you guys, and have a wonderful day.